All right, let's talk about Waaree Renewables. Their latest performance? It's been absolutely stellar, as bright as the solar panels they're famous for. But this story is bigger than just one company. It's really about India's incredible push into green energy.
So, let's kick things off with a number that's almost hard to wrap your head around. 500 gigawatts. That's the goal. That's India's renewable energy target for 2030. And to give you a sense of scale, they're already more than halfway there, and things are really speeding up.
Which, of course, brings up a huge question, right? How on earth does a country build that much clean energy? Well, it doesn't happen overnight. It happens one project at a time, and it's driven by some major players on the ground. And one of the real leaders in this whole space? You guessed it, Waaree Renewables.
And wow, have they been performing. It's been nothing short of phenomenal. So let's just dive right into the big numbers from their latest earnings call.
Look, this wasn't just a good quarter for them. It was a historic one. We're talking about the highest quarterly revenue and profit they have ever reported. This feels like a real turning point in their story. Okay, so if you look at the top line, the revenue, it jumped by almost 48% compared to last year. That's some seriously strong growth. But honestly, what's happening below that top line is where things get really interesting.
Let's talk about EBITDA. It's basically a measure of how profitable their core operations are. Well, it more than doubled. It shot up by a massive 120.7%. What this tells us is that as the company gets bigger, it's getting way more efficient.
And that awesome efficiency, it flows straight down to the bottom line. Their profit after tax? Yep, that more than doubled too, with a jump of over 117%. I mean, these are the kinds of numbers that make everyone sit up and pay attention.
Okay, take a look at this. This chart just lays it all out perfectly. You see that revenue growth on the left, that nice 47.7% bump? But then, look at the bars for EBITDA and profit. Whoa, they're just soaring, both over 117%. This is what they call operating leverage, and it's powerful stuff. It means for every new dollar of sales they bring in, they're actually making even more in profit. So, what's behind all this? What's the engine driving this incredible performance? It all comes down to one thing: their massive and still growing order book. Now, to really get what they do, you gotta know this acronym, EPC. It just stands for Engineering, Procurement, and Construction. Basically, Waaree's main gig is being the go-to expert that designs and builds these huge solar farms for other companies. And their pipeline for that kind of work, it is absolutely enormous right now. We're talking about an unexecuted order book of 3.48 gigawatts. Now think about that. These are signed, sealed contracts for projects that are just waiting to be built. That is future revenue already locked in. And here's the best part. Management is saying they expect to build out this entire 3.48 gigawatt pipeline in the next 12 to 15 months. That gives them, and us, this incredible clear view of what their business is going to look like for the next year or so. In fact, the company's CFO, Manmohan Sharma, said it perfectly on their call. He said the order book gives them solid visibility for the upcoming quarters. And for anyone watching the company, that kind of predictability is absolute gold.
Okay, so we've got massive growth. We've got clear visibility into the future. But there's another piece to this puzzle: profitability. How in the world is Waaree pulling off these amazing profit margins? And more importantly, can they keep it up?
And that was the big question everyone had on the earnings call. I mean, when you see profit margins leap from around 13% to over 20% in just 1 year, you can't help but wonder, is this for real? Is it sustainable?
Well, management's answer was pretty straightforward. They said it comes down to a really disciplined three-part strategy. First, they keep a super tight grip on their budgets. Second, they monitor every project in real time. And third, they are just relentlessly focused on being efficient. So it's not some kind of magic trick. It's just a culture of getting things done right.
And here's the key number to remember from all that. While that 20% margin was, exceptional, management said they're confident they can keep their EBITDA margin above 15% going forward. That sets a really strong foundation for their profits in the future.
So, they have a clear plan for the next year and a bit. But what happens after that? The company is already looking down the road. So, where's the next wave of growth going to come from?
It looks like their strategy has two parts. First, keep crushing it in their main business, solar EPC. But at the same time, they're planting seeds in some new, really high-growth areas. And two of the most exciting ones, battery storage and data centers. So they're already bidding on what are called BESS projects. That's Battery Energy Storage Systems. These are super important for keeping the lights on as we add more solar and wind to the grid. And at the same time, they're looking at building data centers, which, as you know, is a market that's just exploding thanks to AI. The cool thing is, both of these areas use the exact same skills they already have, so it's a really natural next step for them.
All right, let's wrap this up. Let's pull everything together and get to the final takeaway on Waaree Renewables.
So here's the picture that's been painted. You've got a company that's just firing on all cylinders, putting up record numbers, and it's not a flash in the pan. It's all supported by that huge 3.48 gigawatt order book, which gives them a super clear path for the next year. Plus, they have a solid plan to keep profits healthy, above that 15% mark, and they're not just sitting still. They're already making moves into the next big things like battery storage and data centers.
So look, Waaree has given us a really compelling and clear roadmap for the next 15 months. But the bigger question, the one that's really fascinating to think about, is this. How will their moves into battery storage and data centers position them to win, not just in the next year, but in the next decade of India's massive energy and tech transformation? That's the real story to watch.